I'm Lacey J. I'm an entrepreneur who started a social media agency at age 22. Weird, I know. I've been niching it down and building it up over the last 11 years, and a long 11 years they have been. Being on social media so much is hard on my and my team's mental health, so we work to find routines, balance, and focus on ethics that keep us showing up authentically online. If you manage social media accounts and you feel confused, unfocused, or straight up wackadoo, welcome to the club. We meet here once a week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am so excited to have Adrian Harvey with me today. Adrian is the senior digital strategist at Spry and basically one of the most brilliant digital marketers that I know. So you're all welcome to get to listen to her today. How you doing today, Adrian? 0 to 10.
I am at I'd say 7.
That's pretty good. I live at a 7 most of the time.
Yeah.
It's got to be a pretty good day to get me up into an 8, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually like at 8, 9. Recently, I've been flying high, but the weather has changed. I have a bunch of stuff on my plate, and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed and just at the verge of tears.
I cried in my chair before all my meetings yesterday. It just had to happen. I had to get at least 7 tears out before I started my calls, or else things were going to go poorly. So
yeah,
if you could get 7 tears out, maybe you'll be fine for the rest of the day.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I'll try to move you to tears while we're together.
No, okay. It's good. We're good. It's fun.
Well, okay, listen, I've been talking about the fact that election season is upon us for the last few episodes because, my gosh, it's just a lot for us social media marketers. So,
yes.
I thought that maybe we could go through some tips for going into this last push of election season here. So Can we just give people as much information as possible to be able to keep themselves, their brains, their hearts protected on social media during this wackadoo couple weeks?
Yeah, let's you know what's funny too is as we go into election season, even though I've unfollowed a bunch of very incisive accounts, I still notice some interesting patterns in algorithms during election. Like it's almost like they being the platforms want people to
argue.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I think that there's something to that. So yeah, so let's talk about how to not get all wound up.
All right, I'll give my first tip and then we'll move to yours. So one of the first things that I think is important is just checking the source, right? If we can get 4 clicks through, it takes about 4 clicks to just see an article or a piece of news coming through and click through. Maybe it's an Instagram story that's shared. Maybe it's an article shared on Facebook, and it takes a few clicks to get back to who originally shared this piece. So before you get all up in arms and you also share that piece, just going back and seeing who was the original person who posted this, and is this source valid or not? In 2016, the big issue during that election season was there was tons of these basically fake pages that were created that just had buzzwords in the page name. Democrats for armed forces, whatever. It was just these buzzwords that were created in these pages that actually had no organization behind them. It was just a place where you could basically put propaganda and people would share. So checking the source is my first tip for people to kind of keep themselves sane during this time.
That's a really good tip.
Okay, what do you want to start with?
I was gonna say, when you check the source, you can also see when the page was originally created. So if it was created 3 months ago, you can also see what the name, the URL of the profile too. There's been a few instances where I've had interesting comments, and then I go and I look and I see that the profile name, the URL for Facebook / it's Brian Smith. So it looks like somebody's account had been hacked. So a personal profile had been hacked and then remade into a new thing. So according to Facebook's algorithm, well, you could argue a lot of things, but anyway, but it's a long-term account that had been taken.
Yeah.
So that's one. But mine kind of piggybacks off of yours of
Okay.
checking the source is if I see something on social media or on the internet anywhere, I kind of read through and I observe who's talking about it and what's going on. But if it's really like if it triggers me to like share or say something, I will go and I will open up a new tab
Okay.
and Google the keywords, you know, the who, what, where, when, why. And I will read as much context as I can because there's so much out there that is basically like taking a little bit of what somebody says and then spinning it in a way. It happens all the time. And I've noticed this with like certain like debates recently where like people will try to debate, you know, the people who are debating during like midterms are just like, they're really trying to get sound bites out there for whoever
people to
to pick up.
quickly click the share button.
Exactly. So really, 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 really look and research the context around whatever it is being shared.
So, I mean, both of those things heavily rely on people like taking a moment before they act, right? Actually training yourself to take a breath and do just a little bit more work before you react. Because as soon as you put your name on something by sharing it, then you're also responsible and culpable for whether this information is correct, whether it's coming from a source that's legitimate. Now you've put your name on it. And so you really do have to maintain your integrity by doing just a little bit of work, or else you're just as much a part of the problem.
Exactly.
Well, maybe not just as much. I mean, a lot of the responsibility lays on the systems, but
yeah, no, it's and what's wild is there is an example recently of a local newspaper with a local story, and they published a story, but like only about a third of the facts. And of course, in our today's digital age, you want to get things out as fast as possible. But the first iteration of the article that was published online didn't have any of the context, any background, and so all these people read the headline and made up their minds about the story. And there's this whole conversation going on. And I watched, and throughout the day, the story kept on being added to.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
The story kept on. So like, I mean, and that's the thing with like newspapers versus digital. Newspapers, you know, you get what you get, and that's it. But with digital, you could like you could keep on adding things to the story, but once it's gotten out there, there's already like probably 70% of the people, because of how the half-life of how digital works. You put it up there the first like 3 hours, and the most important 70% of the people are going to be seeing it. But then if you actually update it with like the correct information later, nobody's going to see that. So even you could say, oh, well, we updated it and it's true, but you already misled a whole bunch of people who now think something that you could have prevented. And so there's just this responsibility. It's like, whose responsibility is it? And obviously I believe that the people who are in charge are not being very responsible, so we have to be.
And that even goes down to things like, what is the actual title of the article? Because some of the issues that happen, and I've seen this recently too, is where there's been maybe a mistake in the title, but the way that the internet indexing works on social media is that once you've posted that, even if they change the title later and update it to the correct thing, it's already posted, and that does not auto update on a post on social media. So whatever has gone into the title is going to stay and be the thing that's shared, even if when you click on it and go to the article, it's got a new updated title. And people don't understand that, and it can get very very dicey then. Okay, another tip that I have is being really, really wary of screenshots. Okay, this is something that I've been noticing over the past, probably since 2020, is people, instead of sharing articles and having articles go viral, people are sharing like a screenshot of something, and they'll share it to their personal profile, and then that will get shared over and over again. And the problem with that is that it's very difficult to find an original source and to even know if if this is something that was doctored, is it just a graphic that someone created? That's so easy. You can create anything that looks like whatever you want it to be and share that on a personal profile. And that even will get priority because it's shared on a personal profile instead of a page, So anytime that I see somebody using a screenshot as a way to prove their point on their belief, idea, opinion, whatever, I am super wary. I immediately will, just like you said with the article, I will look at any of the details that's given. What's the name? What details are there about the situation that the screenshot talks about? Go to Google, search for those things, see if you can find a legitimate source for this information. Because otherwise, and when I say legitimate, obviously everyone has their own idea of what legitimate is, but if you're going to be in line with your own integrity, then whatever legitimate means to you, you've got to do that homework to look and see if it comes from a source that you can trust before you do any sort of interaction with that content.
Yeah. The thing that I love about journalism is that there is a scientific way. There, like, how science, like, you have to have a replicable experiment for it to actually be proven true. My husband was telling me that there's this, it's a very happy story. It's about this Japanese doctor who did this experiment where he told a water happy words, and then he swore out some water, and then he did this thing where he like zoomed in on the molecular level, and like the levels, or the image of the water that's been spoken to kindly was beautiful and lovely, and the ones that were spoken to ugly was like all crazy and not crazy, but just chaotic. And this was all over, I love astrology. I love the new agey type people are just like, oh, because like if you speak this, they were like, oh man, this proves that if you speak, you can speak things into existence, speak positivity into existence. The problem with this is that everything was published in a book, it was published online, and once people had it, they ran with it. Then they had other scientists try to replicate this experiment, and they could not do it. But like I said before, once you have released the floodgates, you cannot take it back now. You cannot take it back, no matter how many people are like, hey, so what I'm trying to say is like before you reshare something, what I like to do honestly sometimes is go to when I read something and I go and I try to find it on like almost the exact opposite ideological
interesting
space, and just see what they're saying about it. And there will always be a few facts that are the same. If there's the same facts coming from several different places, then you could be like, okay, well, the facts are that these things, but maybe everything else around it is just how someone's feeling and how someone wants me to feel about these facts. So
yeah,
before that takes a lot of time.
It does, but also it takes time to build beliefs as well. And if you just choose things to start stacking onto your beliefs and those things grow roots, then it takes a lot of time to unbelieve something that wasn't true. And all the things that you've built around that in your ideology, when that one thing wasn't true, that takes time too. So what's the more efficient use of your time? To really find what the truth is there, or to dismantle what you accepted without doing the research.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had to do the dismantling before, and it's not fun.
No, it's not fun, but it's actually when you do it, then you feel humbled. It's good to be humbled sometimes and know that you don't know everything, but it definitely, but then it helps you approach other things in your life with a little bit more of I'd say maybe grace, but also patience and understanding that things are not always what they seem. It's just the world works in mysterious ways that It's fine.
Well, one mystery that is important to try to solve that is another one of the tips that you have here is about looking at who's benefiting from content. So can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, whenever I see a news article during any time of the year, but I think it's especially true when elections are happening, is to look at an article and just see who the players are, look at the power dynamics of the people in the article, whether that is, the state, the, police, military, et cetera, and who are the people who are being, who are the people in the wrong, or who are the people that, there's a lot of social issues going on with, stories about people experiencing homelessness, and they'll frame it in a homelessness problem. And you're just thinking, and then so they frame it in a way where it's like people who are marginalized and have no power are the ones that are the problem. But then if you take a step back and you think, okay, so who are the people that are in power, and who are the people that might be benefiting from this story going out? And so I just always try to look at that and just think, okay, well, who are the winners in this story? And so that's really what I do. And I really try to just keep an eye out for any motivations, because then you can really start to unpack propaganda. And sometimes what's crazy about propaganda is we always think about propaganda as being, you always think of Nazi Germany, you think of all of these very blatant, bold messages, and because you and I went to college communication school, and we had history of communication, and we talked about propaganda, and it's like textbook versions of examples of propaganda. But what the thing about propaganda is, it's so wild, is that it can just like get into people's brains that this is how it is and it's fine, and then it gets repeated as like even people who are like journalists or people who are working in places of power are kind of like their frame of reference is a little bit a certain way, and they just keep on, that's how they write and create media. And it's not just like someone going, I'm going to go create some propaganda today. Like, it's not how it works. It's just this like kind of slow, insidious thing. And so what I really try to do is always just like keep in mind what are the power dynamics, who's winning, who's benefiting, who's losing, who's the problem, always with tech companies or like big companies coming in and being like, Shamazon is doing all these amazing things for the community and blah, 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 blah. And then you take a step back and you're just like, yeah, but they still, like, they did a bare minimum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these stories, but they build up these, then they build up this background story that the general blanket population is like, Amazon does amazing things because they have all these like good feel-good stories. But then when you take a look at that, you're just like, well, but why are we having all these like conversations about multi-billion-dollar companies that are doing the bare minimum? Anyway, that's to take a step off my soapbox.
I don't know. I like your soapbox. You look cute up there.
Yes, my hair, I'm wearing nice earrings for it.
But it is important. I mean, who's the hero? Who are they making out to be the hero, and who are they making out to be the villain? And do you see a pattern of that in the way that news is being presented? It's very important to be looking at who's benefiting, so that you can, again, kind of train yourself. It's so hard to not be biased because the things that are around election season and election time are so emotionally charged. I got a text from a political campaign text yesterday that just started out with Washington children are being killed. And that was like the opening line. And I'm like, okay, let's see who's the villain here. Okay. So I see what you're doing. I see how you're using this emotionally charged intro to really get me fired up. It's gross. It's gross.
It's so gross. It's Lacey. And the thing about it is that people like us, because we are really good communicators. We know how persuasion works. Or like in sales, like a hard sale, when you say things like, oh, when are we going to see you next? Or we are so excited that you are going to join us on this adventure. We kind of create this like safe space of inclusion and welcome and excitement, and we're going to solve a problem together. And all this like words, and before you know it, you've bought a janky used car because you've been sold. It's a good storyteller, someone who's a really good storyteller. That is like us people like us, but somehow we they're using their powers for bad.
Yeah.
So
one thing to think about that's just in the same digital marketing world, but beyond social media, I had a conversation with Natalie Murphy, who is a brilliant social media manager that we have both worked with before, who we've had on the podcast too. And she was talking about how there's a specific campaign that created a website called OregonVotersGuide.com. And basically it has now, they've done so much Google pay-per-click for it that it is showing up as the top result when someone is searching for Oregon Voters Guide, meaning that you're actually not getting to the official guide, you're getting to something that's been optimized to look like the guide. And so crap. Like,
so you could have somebody who wants the election to go a certain way, who has a lot of money, doing this.
Exactly.
Oh, I wonder who that could be.
So, being wary of what actual sources are on all digital platforms right now is very important if you're wanting to get correct, unbiased information on the topics that you're trying to learn about to be able to have an educated vote on anything this season. So
yeah, definitely. I have here one last tip that I have written down is being aware of your feelings going in. Just I don't know if anybody, you should be going to therapy. We should all be going to therapy, or have your favorite astrologer, or have your favorite priest, or you have your spiritual guides, meditating, but just whatever it takes for you to just it feels, it's I think derogatory to call it touchy-feely, because your feelings are so important, and everybody has feelings. And when you take those feelings and you take them to the internet, it's kind of like you get what you give. And so if you are angry or sensitive or just coming at it, going in and just expecting the negativity, you're expecting certain headlines, you're expecting people to behave a certain way, you're going to see that, and then you're going to react to it because you haven't examined your feelings. But the internet is such a litmus test for how you're feeling. Even I work on the internet every day, and I fell into a trap last week. I was feeling just melancholy and bored and just kind of chaotic in my brain, and I went on and I picked a fight with somebody, which I haven't done in years. And then I came out of it and I was like, that was unnecessary. It really didn't move my life forward. I didn't convince anybody of anything, and I just wasted 2 hours of my day in my life. Why did I do that? Oh, because I was feeling not great.
And you let that drive you.
Yes. And the internet and social media is meant and made to capture that reactivity. That is the reason why Facebook exists, is because we react to things. So,
and this is the perfect opportunity to really be thinking about whether you are using the platforms as a tool or if you're being used by them, right? And being in touch with and aware of your emotions is one of the best way that you can make sure that you are not being as used by the tool than being the user of the tool.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, if you're looking for ways to build your foundational social media strategy skills, we've got a course for that. I worked with Adrian Harvey, who's the lead digital strategist at Spry, has a master's in digital media, and has worked in digital marketing for over 10 years to create this course. The course is called Social Media on Purpose, and it takes all of the lessons we've learned over our combined 24 years in the industry and distills them down into bite-sized lessons for you to enjoy. If you're interested, check it out at thinkspry.com/courses. Also, we're kind of cute and funny if that's important to you.
Okay, so before we wrap up, all of us social media managers who are forced to spend time on social media when everything's chaotic like this, how do we protect our mental health? What are some of the things that you are doing from a boundary perspective to make sure that you are thriving? Question mark. Can we thrive right now? I don't know. that we're still thriving when we have to be on these platforms, even if maybe we personally wouldn't want to spend as much time.
I'm gonna sound super annoying right now and just be like, "Am I a morning routine?" But it's so true. I really do not look at my phone first thing in the morning, and when so boundaries. I mean, I really try to set boundaries. And it's for me, it's easier. Boundary setting is easier when you have a routine, and so it's less about like being like telling like yourself. For me, I am not going to get on the internet until 10 a.m. today or whatever. I just have my morning, and then but before I know it, I'm like, it's time for me to work. It's 10 a.m. I'm gonna go and open up my stuff, and then you kind of move on with your day. So yeah, boundaries. I would say just examining your boundaries, do what you love. And the last thing I would say is that over the last 2 years, maybe a year, actually, more of a year, and I do it constantly, is I'm really just honing in on my feed and really eliminating people who are selling me things, just like getting rid of just content that just gunks up my feeds, you know? So I really have been very kind of I've tried to build my algorithm, I guess, to give me things that are really just not triggering. So
I think we need to like create a course for people 50 and over about curating your feed.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people's parents are like mine, but my mom has been texting me, I hate my Facebook feed. And I like every time I go over there, she puts the phone in my hand and I try to hide another 10 creators that are causing her stress. And so
yeah,
that's important. Curate
it. Yeah. No, and what was interesting about that too, Lacey, is like once I went through and I tried to unfollow, and this is just me, but I tried to unfollow anybody with a blue check mark. So I'm just like,
interesting.
I don't need to know what a celebrity thinks. I don't only need to know what I don't need to brands like big brands. Anybody with a blue check mark, like I follow a few people who will like are kind of like pop culture news like aggregators, and they'll like kind of talk about it. So if I see something and I want to go see it, I can go and find it, but I won't follow them. That would probably change. I am a little butterfly. I do things. I'm like, here's my rule for 3 months, and then later I'll be like, well, that was a fun thing to do, but now I'm gonna not do that. So
yeah, but what that shows is intentionality. Even if you're going from one thing to another thing, you're still experimenting about what's best for you, which is better than just accepting what comes to you.
Exactly. Well, yeah. But what I found is interesting is once I unfollowed a whole bunch of like retail sales brands, I noticed that there's so many more people selling me things in the suggested reels. I just get so many suggested posts. So I don't know what that means. Like, you unfollow because Facebook wants us to buy things, and they want us. That's basically it.
Yes.
My answer.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. We're almost through this season, and then we're into holiday shopping season on social media. So, I mean, at least it's a little bit less conflict focused, though it is still trying to extort us. So
yeah. I don't know. I just try to have a good humor about everything and just really, I just have the other day, you've heard of the Home Depot skeleton. Have you heard of the Home Depot skeleton? Kind of
I've seen it going around. Yes.
It's like 20-foot skeleton.
Yes.
And the other day there's somebody made like a feature film with a skeleton as like the main character. And sometimes you get on here and you're just like, you know what? I hate Home Depot. Like the concept of it just drives me crazy whenever I go there. I get mad. But I'm not mad about the skeleton because the skeleton is so funny.
You know, if we're going there for the creativity, it's just fun to see what people make.
It is. People, I love them.
I know.
They also scare me.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. Okay?
All right.
I appreciate you. Good job. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Social Media with Lacey J is brought to you by Spry Social Media Marketing. Edited and produced by Chad Hinman and executive produced by Lacey J. Fott.